Welcome to the Perspective Podcast. Josue here. As you guys probably already know, from the Democratic Republic of Congo. I attended the Oral Roberts University. Rumor still has it that I preach at times, but on this podcast, that's not something that we discuss. And today we have Chase Brown. He was born in Texas. He attended University of North Texas. He's an aspiring philanthropic creative. And today we have one of those special, very controversial topics for you guys. That's going to include a lot of legalism. Just a joke. Hopefully no legalism. And Chase is going to break it down for us. What are we talking about today?
Yeah, it's a question that a few of us have been talking about over the last few days. And as y'all see by the title, it is simply put, should Christians listen to secular music? There's a variety of thoughts on this across, what's the phrase you use? Christendom?
Yeah, Christendom. Yeah.
And we just we're praying about it, thinking about it over the last few days, and kind of wanted to add our brief bit of thoughts to it as we've had some conversations over the last couple of days. But yeah, Josue, I'll let you kind of hop in first. You know, you're the wisest out of us. So whatever you want to share, bro.
All right, so how are we defining secular music?
That's a good question. I think maybe there's two categories. There's art created by people who are not believers. And then there's art that does not specifically reference the Lord or isn't created for the purpose of advancing the kingdom. And so I think even from there, we should make a distinction. I think some people say it's only secular music if it's created by a non-Christian. Some people say it's secular music if it's created by a non-Christian or also created by someone who is a believer, but that isn't pushing forward the gospel or acknowledging the Lord in any sort of way. So you could go whichever direction you want to.
Yeah, no, I mean, I thought it was good for us to kind of clarify that. And obviously you guys define your own way of defining secular music because I'm sure you have your own. I think even in that it's tricky. It's tricky because it's like, should we listen? And I don't want to open a can of worms. I don't like when you ask a question and people bring up a lot of different thoughts because let's try not to do that. But in a sense, it's like, should we not listen to Christian music? Should we watch secular movies? You know, and the list can go on. And I don't want to have that conversation. But specifically sticking to the music, for me, this is not, some whatever. But I personally, in my day-to-day, try not to. And I'm going to explain and get into that a little bit. That's been like a 6-year process.
6 years?
Yeah, 6 years
Wow.
since 2016.
Look at you
process
go.
of not listening to secular music.
That process is in kindergarten by now. Wow.
as we've come to define it. But there are moments throughout the years where, I'm a big Lil Wayne fan. And so there'll be moments where I'll just randomly, I'm in a car and I'll listen to like a whole album and I'm like, man, this dude's wild, but I still love it. And I'll stop, right?
Yeah.
And then there's moments where I'm at the gym and I feel like some of the music, just gets you going a little bit more, but that's not frequent, right? And so all of that to say, it would be kind of hypocritical of me to say no, and yet I still do it in these random moments. And even not just to that, most of you guys are probably not familiar with what battle rap is, and that's okay. There are moments where I listen to battle rap, and battle rap is probably a little bit more aggressive than secular music.
Yeah.
It's also a form of art. And so all of that to say, I think in our liberty that the Lord has given us, we should use discretion and wisdom on what we're listening to. Personally, I just don't really like depressing music. I don't like breakup music. I don't like music where people are going through random things. I'm like, I don't relate to this. That's just not me personally, right? So those type of music I normally don't even listen to begin with. But you have some songs that may be a little bit more, I don't know, aggressive, edgier, whatever expression we want to use. It's like, okay, what does me feeding my soul this information 24/7 do to me?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Because it's, as you guys have heard us, if you've been with us for for a few years now, artists, musicians are our modern day philosophers. We listen to them more than the world in the past would listen to philosophers. We have access to music. How do I know this? Well, most of you guys have a Spotify, and every year you keep showing me your Spotify recaps, and it's letting me know what kind of content you're taking in, right? And in light of that, it's like you're forming your worldview through the music that you're taking in,
Consciously or subconsciously.
consciously or subconsciously. Like I remember, for those of you guys that remember a famous song by a great poet, his name is Waka Flocka Flame.
Yes, sir.
And the song is called "Oh Let's Do It." And the reason I reference this song is I remember when that song came out, listening to that song, it just makes you feel like you want to do something, whether that means working out, whether that means you slapping somebody. I love going on YouTube and you'll see a song that may be like really, really aggressive. And people were like, this song made me, I don't know, wake up and slap my dad. They're all just like joking about these things. But within every joke, they say there might be some level of truth to it. So so I just think that we should use wisdom in how in the content of what we're listening to. So my stance on it, listen to it, and I might get a verse later, listen to it or whatever, but know whatever it is that you're taking in is affecting you because you're taking it consciously or subconsciously. What about yourself?
Yeah, don't be so prideful or naive to think it doesn't affect you. Yeah, that's good. Yeah, I think I would start out with this because I think this has been a general principle or paradigm that I've had for a little bit now in a lot of areas of life. But the first thing is if the Lord specifically speaks to you about what type of music to take in, be obedient and honor what the Lord told you in that. It could be, hey, only listen to worship music. It could be, okay, you can listen to like Christian hip hop and worship music. Or it could be, you know what? As a son or a daughter, you have the freedom and the authority to choose what you take in. And so if he gives you that liberty and that freedom, or if he just doesn't speak in that area, which is perfectly fine, that's where you need to exercise discernment through wisdom and through what helps you bear the gifts of the Spirit and the fruits of the Spirit. And so in it, I don't think I have like a whole thesis to add to this, but I think the small bits that I add to it is all of us should ask the question to ourselves whenever it comes to what type of movies we're taking in, what type of music, what type of art, who we're talking with, what type of books like everything that our eyes or our ears take in, and it could even pertain to food, is what is the underlying habit here? Is my habit to always run to secular music? Is it to always run to Juice WRLD or Kid Cudi when I get depressed? Is it always to run to Drake whenever I'm about to go to the club, about to hang with some women, or what? Or like one of our friends has said in the past how with Waka, Senor Waka, he made him want to fight. He listened to his music and he wanted to put some fists through a wall. And so I think that is the valuable question to ask is what is the habit here? What is my default? Is my default to listen to music that glorifies the Lord, that builds me up, or is my default to take in content that could numb me out, that could make me think in a perverted way, or just generally not draw me closer to the Lord? In that, for me, I have, over the last 2 or 3 years, shifted more and more away from listening to secular music. Kid Cudi was one of my favorite artists. After Juice WRLD passed, he was one of my favorite artists. I didn't really like him before, but he released his song Righteous, and I was just like, I like this. And started to listen to that stuff more and more, listen to just some of the regular hip-hop. But around the end of 2020, I just started to not want to take in that stuff. And it wasn't anything that like the Lord convicted me in, but it's just I hungered for stuff that was a little bit more pure. and things that helped me out and inspired me in wanting to follow the Lord. But so in asking that question of what habits is this building in me, I think it shows the general struggle that a lot of people have in this is either they don't listen to what the Lord told them related to this, or they just don't care enough about their maturity or about their soul to actually think about this in a deep way, or to ask the Lord what his heart is whenever it comes to the music. And whenever you don't think about this or don't sit with the Lord in these things, it's very difficult for you to be nuanced and discerned in that area. And so then you fall into one of two extremes. Either you fall into the extreme of, oh, you know what? I'm always going to listen to secular music. Like, come on. Like, the Lord doesn't say anything about it. Like, blah, 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 blah. Or you fall into the other extreme of, oh, man, anyone who listens to any secular music is going to hell. Mm-hmm. Like, this is just silly and being all self-righteous. But the root of both of those extremes is the same thing of not sitting with the Lord in that particular situation in your life. And also having this sort of pride to where for the extreme that listens to secular music, their pride makes them want to make excuses for any sort of conviction that the Spirit could be bringing. And so as a result, their pride is just like, oh, forget about it. They numb themselves out. They just fall into it rather than actually sitting with the Lord in this being a area in our life that is weighty to him. While the other extreme is just saying, oh, this music is disgusting. Oh, this music is so trash. Like, oh, I would never listen to this kind of music. Oh, I only want to listen to stuff that's pure. Oh, I only want to do this. I only want to do this because I'm so, like, they don't know this. But because the stance is like, oh, I don't want to wrestle with like, oh, this kind of stuff. It just disgusts me. Ew, gross. But both of those come from the place of not sitting with the Lord in a adequate way and willing to have the conversations with people about it. And so I think the one post that I saw a few months ago from No Big Deal on Twitter and on Instagram that really, really encouraged me and shifted my perspective whenever it comes to like the art that I take in, music, movies, all that, is a lot of us would benefit more if instead of asking, is this art Christian? If instead we asked, as a Christian experiencing this art, what do I hear God saying? That being the heart of it. And obviously there are times where, like, for example, probably Game of Thrones with how much nudity and how much violence is in that show, probably as Christians, it's not wise to watch that. As a general rule of thumb, because of the explicit, like the very explicit nature of it. And I'm sure that's the case with a lot of music too, that's particularly praising the devil or all these other things. But then in those areas that are a little bit more gray, they're just like, I don't really know. Yeah, I think we honor the Lord by continuing to keep him in mind while we take in that art, while also asking him and trying to care for him and honor him as much as we can before we start to take in that art.
Yeah, I'm thinking about that country song, Chicken Fry, cold beer on a Friday night. Like a song like that, I'm like, it's not provoking anything. It's not, I'm like, he's talking about chicken and beer and whatever. Like, I don't really know the song totally in depth, but I think we can use
bit of chicken fries.
Yeah, like we can use wisdom. Oh, you gonna sing it? Okay, go ahead, man. Go ahead.
I don't know.
You don't know the rest.
Jeans that fit just right. I don't know after that.
Yeah, I don't know, but there's some people that just make songs about nature, make songs about X, Y, and Z. Like we're saying, use wisdom. That's not necessarily talking about God per se, but it's just a song about chicken, beer, whatever. I don't know. But in the same way. And I'm not using this verse to relate to this or say this is what this means, but the Bible says faith comes by hearing and hearing by the word of God, right? So there's something about sitting and hearing and receiving that word that comes from the Lord that really changes, where it makes me think like what we hear really does go in, because that's kind of where that change comes from, right? And I remember being younger, for those of you that are Lil Wayne fans, and warning, if I can give a warning here, if you're, I wish we could put like a warning sign that you put on the graphic picture, but he had this song called I Feel Like Dying back in the day. And I don't know if it was because of the drugs or what, but I remember listening to that song, and not that it made me feel like I wanted to do that, but it made me feel weird on the inside. I never knew how to like really describe it, but it made me realize like just how powerful music is, because I didn't feel like dying prior to listening to that song, but then I'm listening to that song and I'm feeling weird, And so just use some real life examples. On one hand, I'm telling you about chicken and cold beer on a Friday night or whatever. And on the other hand, I'm using, I keep using Lil Wayne because, like I said, that's my favorite rap artist, whatever. And there are just some songs that really stood out to me, what I'm saying? And so, if anything, hopefully you guys are hearing, we're not the legalists on what music you guys need to listen to, but if anything, just kind of hear the heart of, use wisdom in what you hear, and just kind of be mindful that you are taking in the content and it does produce something in your heart, and I don't know. So
and just pursue holiness. At the end of the day. So it was good. But yeah, bro, your thoughts are good. I appreciate that, man. It's good. It's good.
Yeah, that's about it.
Yeah, boy. But yeah, y'all, that'll be a wrap for us today. Thank y'all so much for tuning in. All of our information, as normal, is in the description, so you can support the podcast, the outreaches that we're doing, the end of year fundraisers, the October fundraiser that we do every single year, if you would like. And then, random question, Josue. When is some Confessions merch dropping?
Ooh, we need the confession merch. Stay tuned. I've been saying this for the last 2 years. Last year. I've only done it for a year, but stay tuned for the merch to happen soon. 2023, let's get it. I need to get production going. Yeah, and then we'll make it happen.
We got people to help with that. But yeah, maybe Confessions can sponsor the Perspectives podcast. Who knows?
Ooh.
We can see.
Who knows?
But yeah, y'all, that'll be right for us today, as I said. So yeah, until next time, much love. God bless.